Welcome, Amanda. Welcome. I saw you jumped on a Zoom call for June 28th, so I figured you found the right one.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No, right? I'm like, oh, she's on the wrong one. Cool. Gabriel, welcome. Brant, you back here. Darnell, Robon, Jason, of course.
Yes.
And Jay, is that Jay exclusive again?
Yes, it is.
Awesome, man. Cool. All right, guys. Thanks for coming. So, yeah, so we just want to talk about a little bit today is just really going to go over the best ways to prospect, kind of where to prospect. Also, the script, how we do, what the methodology is behind that, how we go through it, and the mental mindset and the psychology behind it. Because a lot of this is psychology. A lot of this is trying to get the prospect to engage with us and really kind of lower that buyer resistance, get them, receptive to what we're trying to do, and really make them understand what we're doing, and then really kind of setting an appointment. And then also at the end, if we have time, kind of touch base on, proper follow-up, because follow-up is kind of the key. You do all this work to get people, an appointment, but also how do we, they're not going to make a decision on the first call normally is, hey, how do we follow up so we don't lose them, so they don't ghost you, and also help you manage your time. So hopefully we'll do that within, less than 60 minutes. So we'll get going, but you guys can see my screen, right?
Yep.
All right, great. Okay.
Yes.
All right. So there's some fundamentals when it comes to prospecting. We want to kind of there's 8 really key successful prospecting. Now this is kind of true with, doesn't have to be dispensaries. It could be any kind of retail, or any kind of, merchant services based, really kind of, you want to be able to prepare a little bit. So you want to, you identify an area. You guys, some of you guys have territory. Some of you guys, would call in your backyard. Just, first, just do a little prep, identify an area. You always want to have a goal before you pick up the phone or walk in. Can't wing it. I'm gonna dive into these more on the next slides. And really, it's a contact sport. You want to talk to as many people as possible. So you want to make sure you're not that person that's kind of clinging on to the only lead you got for the week. And then if you lose that lead, you want to make sure you're talking to everybody you possibly can. Name dropping is always important. The different integrations we have build some confidence and some rapport and some credibility with some people that don't really know who we are. You want to perfect your 30-second sales pitch. We call it like an elevator pitch. If you're new to this and let's say you're at a function and you're at an expo or you're at a convention or you walk in somewhere and someone says, "Hey, so what do you do for a living?" Or "What do you guys do?" And if you want to make sure that's articulate, smooth, deliver process, a good way of delivering that message so you're not stumbling over your words like I just did. You want to be able to collect owner contact information as possible. So when you do making your phone calls, keep track of who you're speaking with, even if it's the gatekeeper, even if it's a receptionist or a bud tender. You want to keep track of the names of the people you're speaking with because you're going to need those people to kind of help you move forward. And then the last two is really assume and set the appointment. Don't really ask permission, just kind of nudge their way through it. I'll show you how to do that. And then obviously record, log your leads. I got some tools you guys can use, or you have your own tools. Doesn't matter. Just record your leads. So that way you don't forget, because I guarantee you make 30, 50, 60 dials a day and you talk to several people, you're not going to remember your conversations after a couple of days. You're going to forget those little nuances that separate you from everybody else. So you might want to record who you're speaking with, and just record those in a way that you are comfortable doing. So to dive into when you identify an area, we'll look at a couple different things. It's not rocket science. I tell people, you want to kind of identify with people that you're familiar with. You have a better chance of getting rapport. If you're an East Coast kind of personality and you talk fast, you're not going to you want to kind of curtail that if you're going to call the Midwest. They're not going to be receptive to your personality type. Stick to the East Coast. Or if you, or different ethnicities or different neighborhoods or just wherever you feel that you belong or you can identify, that's where you want to go. That's where you want to go. So just keep that in mind. And then again, you have a goal. When your first interaction, it should always be just to get the appointment. You're not trying to close. You're not trying to sell it. You're excited. You're optimistic. They're going to do it. you're just don't plan on selling it. You know, get a specialist on the phone or one of us on the phone so we can go ahead and do that for you. But the whole goal is to get them interested and then, you know, really just get the appointment. All you're trying to do. That's your mission. That's your goal when you walk in is how can I get these people on a phone call either later on today or tomorrow or later on this week, not too far in the future. And that's the only thing you should be focused on is just getting an appointment, but you got to get them interested in the product without telling too much about it, right? You got to give them a little bit of taste. You got to put a little bait in the water to get them wanting more. And that's the key. You got to get them wanting to know more about it. So you can't divulge too much on the first interaction. Okay. What is the contact for it, right? So I'm going to break down the numbers for you. Okay. So I always recommend people do 50 phone calls a day. Why? Because if you do that, not a day, but every time you actually jump on the phone, whether it's, 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, 5 days a week, it's enough time frame to get a momentum and to get a feel for what's going on. Because if you make just say a handful of phone calls, you don't really kind of get into a cadence. You don't really get into a rhythm. And if you've ever done cold calling or telemarketing before, if you're doing it, like kind of sporadically during the day, you don't really kind of get in the flow. And you'll understand this if you've done this before, where people will start to answer the phone a certain way. You'll start to understand how to kind of get past, say, okay, this didn't work. Okay, this worked a little bit better. Okay, I'll be sure not to do that. I'll be sure to do this going forward. And then you'll start getting into a rhythm or pattern that's going to make you more successful if you stick with a certain repetition number versus calling three or four numbers here, 5 or 6 numbers there. Really sit down and do some time blocking and knock it out if you can. I'm just trying to help you. So if you do 50 dials a day, that's $600 per month. Bringing it down to, again, these are just rough estimates. If you call 30 numbers, you should be able to set an appointment. Should be able to. Now, obviously the rule of thumb is, if you're not getting enough appointments, obviously you got to, either make more dials or do better job with the ones you're calling. There's only 2 ways to get more appointments, right? The whole goal is get appointments. So if you do 1 out of 30 and you're doing $600 a month, you should have 20 appointments for the month. I know no one's really kind of hit that feat yet, but that's the goal. And why? Because if we close 50% of those appointments, you're going to have about 10 deals a month coming in on a regular basis. Now, when I say 10 deals, I mean, again, these are people that have multiple locations. Sometimes they most have 2 or 3 or 4. You just got to kind of dig through them. But if you do 10 deals, and let's say the average, and again, everyone's commission structure is a little different, but let's just do an average. Let's say you made $200 a month for every single deal you set up. Doesn't sound like very much. It's like, okay, well, this isn't very much money. Well, actually, it is. It's actually a tremendous amount of money because you figure if you do $200 a month every single time you sell a deal, you do 10 deals, that's $2,000 a month. If you stop selling, you break it $24,000 a year. If you stop selling, if you do this month over 12 months and do 10 deals a month, every single month, and you're doing 20 appointments, so 20 appointments, you close half, and those deals actually end up getting set up, you're going to be in that $288,000 a year residual income status. Not bad. And that's pretty good money for working 3 days a week, guys. Not bad. We make a little more, a little less. Like, shoot for, you shoot for the stars, hit the moon. You're doing halfway decent. So these are kind of the numbers. They're obtainable. It's just going to be, main thing is being consistent. Just got to get consistent and got to be dedicated to time blocking and getting it done. So hopefully that makes sense. So where do you find your leads? Well, there's a couple different places you can look for them. I mean, obviously, not too many people are going to look for Yelp, but you could. There's like Weed Maps. It's decent. I like Pot Guide. I like LeafWire. And then obviously I love referrals, but referrals are something you got to, earn over time and kind of get those established. But referrals are always the best source. But I like Pot Guide and I like LeafWire. So if you look at it, you probably can't tell. I got three different websites up here, but the upper left-hand corner, you got Weed Maps. You can look at that. The only difference with Weed Maps, the only thing I'm concerned with them a little bit, you can use them. There is a good resource, but they don't always list licensed dispensaries on their website. There's maybe a lot of traditional sites that are on there. So kind of be careful with looking through that. LeafWire is a social media site. If you're not on there and you're in this business, you're missing out. So you can just go to a connections. You can go do a little search. If you see kind of on the left-hand side, I did a little search based on, okay, drop down. Let's do retail. Let's do managers. Let's do Colorado. And then poof, they all pop up. Everyone that's on LeafWire that's a manager at a retail dispensary, and this is the LeafWire is only cannabis and hemp. That's all they do. That's it. No one else from the outside industries are coming in. It's free to register, and you can start connecting and talking, communicating, and you can start networking with people in there, and then you can again, it's like the LinkedIn of cannabis. I highly recommend you guys go in there, and that's free prospecting. And you can actually look and identify who actually works there. You can look at bud tenders, managers. Sometimes you get the CEOs in there. Sometimes they don't really kind of broadcast themselves, but you might find CFOs, CEOs, COOs. You might find all the different executives, investors. They're all there. So it's a great prospecting tool if you're looking for something specifically. And then obviously to the right here you got Pot Guide. You just plug in a city, hit search, and then they'll start popping up. Okay, and then that's an easy way to prospect. Just click on it, get to the phone number, you start dialing them one by one, and that's really a good way to go about if you really want to you just want to start calling dispensaries, out of the book in an area, and you want to map it. That's a great way to go as well. So, any questions? Cool. All right. So we're talking about scripting right now for a second. So when you do scripting, okay, obviously we've gone through preparing yourselves. When you're going to prospecting, identify a market, you got it, you got the lead source. Okay, now we're getting ready to make the phone call. They're going to pick up the phone, and then now you prepare how you're actually going to deliver your message. Okay, you don't want to sound like a telemarketer. Although you're telemarketing, you don't want to sound like that person. You want to be able to. You want to slow down. You want to sound like you're trying to look up this look for the dispensary location. If you sound confused, even better. I'm serious. If you don't want to be super polished, which actually is good if you're new at this. If you trip over your words, sometimes that's actually better for you too, a little bit, right? So you want to sound like a customer looking for location. The purpose is totally to disarm them, thinking you're not selling anything. You want to keep it casual. So manage your tone and tempo. Okay, I talk fast naturally, and so when I'm prospecting or I'm on the phone with portions, I slow way down because I need them to hear the words coming into my mouth. I need them to understand the message I'm trying to portray, so they understand, and so we can move the conversation forward in the direction that we want to go. So, and chances are, guys, you're not going to be talking to owners. You're going to be talking to managers or bud tenders. So you use them as a gatekeeper and value them. Those are the ones that obviously are on the floor that make money when there's more sales. And if they're incentivized, having a solution that's going to benefit them, they're going to nudge the store manager. They're going to nudge the owners or the person that makes decisions for the business. So that way, it'll help you. They can be an advocate for you to get to the person you need to get to because they see the value in it because they're the ones that's being pestered all day long about not taking credit cards, right? So use them as an ally. And then obviously the goal really is to get them interested more about one of our solutions, primarily credit cards. It could be PIN debit, and then we have other solutions coming up, but obviously our flagship is credit cards. And just schedule time to speak with us and have your manager's calendar handy. Have it ready to go. Don't like, oh my God, they said yes. What do I do next? Like, have it ready. Prepare yourself as part of the prep process. Okay. So here's a typical script that I would do. So if I was in your shoes, I would do exactly this. And I've done this, and it actually works. So if I'm actually telemarketing and someone picks up the phone, I go, hello, hey, is this 420 Central? I'm just picking a random name. They go, yeah, of course. I said, okay, great. You guys are located at 123 Main Street, right? They go, yes, great. So I'm trying to sound like they identify the right business and they identify the location correctly. They're gonna go with me. They're gonna collaborate with me because obviously it sounds like I'm trying to find them, right? That's what how you want to come across. And then the next thing you want to say is, hey, do you guys take cards for payments, right? Let them answer. They're going to give you a list of things they do. Right? Say, oh, hey, no, hey, we're cash only, but we have an ATM here. Or yeah, absolutely, yeah, we take cards, or with debit cards. They may not be real specific, right? They could be vague or they could be specific. And then I'm going to follow up with, thank you so much for letting me know. Hey, what about credit cards? They're going to give you one of two answers. No, obviously my questions are very leading, right? I'm actually trying to set them up for something. And I want them to kind of fall in my trap a little bit, but that's obviously I want them to kind of steer the conversation in this direction. So obviously I'm trying to say, like, before I go there, in their minds, I'm trying to prepare to purchase something. So I need to know if I'm going to go to the ATM or if I can use a credit card, right? They say, do you take credit cards? They'll say no. Most will say no. Okay. And then you want to kind of joke with them a little bit and say, oh, wouldn't it be great if you did? I wonder, what they would do for your store. And they'll probably say, oh my God, we get requests all the time. Oh my God, I can't wait till we do credit cards. And they'll start going off on a tangent sometimes on how they would benefit. All depends on your delivery, on how they're going to engage in this type of conversation. And so you kind of want to, you want to kind of like encourage them to talk more about it, right? Or they might say, yeah, we take credit cards. Oh, perfect. Okay. Hey, real quick, is there an app I need to download ahead of time? Is it easy or hard to do? So what they're going to do now is, if they say they take credit cards, don't be defeated. Most likely, you're using an app, right? So I want to identify. Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, what you do is you got to go, get this app, download, register your profile, do whatever it is. Or yeah, we have a scanner here. What we do is you get your text. We'll text you, then use your ID, and you'll understand what the process is. Okay. So right now you just profiled the company on the introductory call, and you haven't even really even introduced yourself. Any questions on this tactic? No? Okay, I'll go to the next one. So at this point, if they do or don't take credit cards. At this point, since you already have the information, now you transition. You do a transition statement. You say, where the name of the person you're talking to. Hey, thank you so much for providing me with that information. Just to let you know, I've been tasked with contacting all the licensed dispensaries in the Santa Ana area here in California. And we've already talked to a couple, and you just mentioned, hey, we've already talked to Haven and Element 7. And you do that for a reason. One, you want to tell them you've been tasked with calling everybody. Be specific to the city you're calling in, where they're at. Mention one or two dispensaries around them, because this is exactly what you're doing. Tell them exactly what you're doing. You're being very transparent, right? Why do I do that? Because I want them to know that this is something that's happening. I'm about to deliver them to say, hey, look, we're offering credit cards, and now's the time we're contacting you. And by the way, we're contacting all your competitors. Is kind of what the message I'm trying to get across without really saying it. So, and to inform them, I continue on, and to inform them of a new compliant ways to process credit cards through our credit card terminal or online. And just to let you know, we're talking Visa, MasterCard, American Express, and Discover cards. And then, so pause, they might have feedback there. You might have a little dialogue. I'm going to follow up with, because right now I've already got a little intrigue. And then I'm going to follow up with, because what people don't want to do is this. People don't want to go with an experimental solution, because you guys have buyer fatigue is what I call it. They've already tried a million different solutions. They never work. They get turned on, they get turned off, and then and it interferes with what they're doing now. And they're kind of like, look, I've already settled. I don't want to change anything, is what's going on in their brains, right? So this is what's going on in their head. They're not telling you. And I know what's going on in their head, but I'm going to follow up with, by the way, we have over 2,200 licensed dispensaries already on our program. So now I told them the strength and the size of what we're doing, which means that we're not new, and we're not, this is not an experimental program. This is pretty much mainstream, and they probably never heard of it before. And then I go into, and believe, and I pause, your store may also qualify if interested. So what do I do there? I'm not jamming it down their throat. If I jam it down their throat, they're going to get resistance. I'm going to kind of casually like, well, I think you probably qualify. People want things they can't have by nature. If you're trying to sell them on it and they think you're trying to sell them on it, they'll push back and get resistant a little bit. But if they think I'm calling everybody, I'm calling their neighbors, I'm calling their competitors, this is something that is now out. I haven't heard of it before. Wow, you got over 2,000 Spanish already using it, and they think we might qualify for this program. If I'm on the other end of the phone, I'm going to be a little more interested in what we have to say, because they're just almost like a public service message is kind of what this is, right? That's what you want to kind of portray. So when you do that, you stop talking. This will engage them in conversation. Okay, find out what their position is at the store. If they're not the owner, ask if they have access to ones that make decisions. And sometimes the next step is the store manager, or you may even be talking to the store manager, and they're going to guide you kind of how the conversation now will be steered in a direction, right? And you're going to answer some of the questions, but you want to only answer so much, so that way remember, the goal is to get them on the phone with a specialist, me or someone else on your team that is one of your closers, and then that way we can actually answer all the specific questions about cost, rates, price, compliance, and how that works specifically, so that way we can articulate the right way and walk them down that path. And then obviously you already conveyed that, and then say, hey, look, to continue on, does this sound like something you can potentially benefit from? And so I'm trying to make it their idea, because remember, in the previous screen, I asked them, wouldn't this be great if you did? I wonder what they would do for your store. Well, they've already told me, in most cases, a lot of cases, yeah, oh my God, it'd be great. So I already got those words out of their mouth. So they already told me while this conversation is, yeah, all right, yeah, that absolutely would be a benefit. So I got them to actually say that to make it their idea, not my idea. So hey, so now I'm piggybacking back on that comment they made earlier. Does this sound like something you can benefit from, or potentially benefit from? And they'll say, absolutely, but they'll say blah blah blah. I'm concerned about how does this work? How does it cost? I don't know if it's blah blah. And they're going to have all these questions. Great, I'm glad you asked. And then obviously you want to ask them. Sorry, I'm backing up a little bit. Ask them how they benefit. So you want to get the how. Does that make sense? So yeah, well, of course we benefit from credit cards. Okay, well, you would benefit. Say, how exactly would you benefit? And although we know the answer, I want them to say it, because it's more powerful if the words come out of their mouth instead of our mouth. If they say, oh well, yeah, we'd get more traffic, we'd have more people, they'd spend more money. Okay, boom, boom, boom. They're already selling themselves. It's a way to get them to make it their idea. So the more they actually verbalize how they benefit versus us telling them that they'd benefit is the best hook in the world. At that point, you just close for the appointment. Any questions on this screen? Nope. Okay, we're continuing.
Real quick though, Devin, real quick.
Yeah.
So say if they just right in the middle of that, yeah, you've got them on the hook right there, and they're just like, okay, do me a favor, I'm really busy right now, I got other calls coming in, but you know what, I got to go ahead and just send me over an email with a brochure and a breakdown of what's going on, and then maybe we can go ahead and I'll set you up with my manager. Here's her email or whatever type of thing. You know what I mean? So we're not really trying to pitch the host anymore. She's already just kind of like, okay, this sounds great, cool. Can you send me a flyer or send me some sort of tangible thing? Here's the email.
Oh, yeah, great. And then I'll address that one, and then we'll continue, because I want to make sure we don't go over objections yet. But we'll do this. But yeah, I would absolutely address that this way. Say, absolutely, I could totally send you something, so I'm going to be agreeable. However, I need to know a little bit more about your store.
Okay.
Before, because obviously I'm not the person to talk about the rates. I'm not qualified to even talk about rates. So I can give you something that's really generic, but doesn't really kind of tell you what it is. What I'd like to do is schedule a time and then follow up again, try to reclose for a time.
Right. Close the appointment. Yeah.
Close for the appointment. And just say, there's nothing I can give you that's going to be really specific, because obviously, and you can rattle some things off, like, we don't, it depends on how many locations you have, what your average transactions. You guys do curbside pickup, delivery. You guys have wireless units. Depends on really kind of how you're structured and your sales volume. I don't know what to send you. And honestly, my job is just to set you up with an appointment, so you can talk to a specialist and they can talk about all these things and give you all the right answers. You go, I'm not qualified to give it, and dismiss yourself.
And but then she goes, well, it sounds great, and we really want to take credit cards. She's just really busy, and what she really wants is just for you to go ahead and send over something, and when she's ready, she'll take a look at it, and then she'll call you.
Yeah, for me, that's a blow off. So if I give them anything, they're never going to call me back anyways. So it's better just to press for a time.
Yeah, no, I feel you on that one.
Yeah,
Thank
yeah.
you.
So I mean, there's so many people to call, so sometimes we get so desperate. I'll cave to their request. Remember, you made the phone call. This is your call. You control it, and you tell them what goes on next. And then they'll do it reluctantly. They'll do it kicking and screaming. No one ever wants to send. Not everyone. Some people just resist it. Somebody says, "Yeah, I totally understand how you feel. There's nothing I can send you really. I'm not authorized. Who is authorized is Zavin, or just give a name, or Tiffany, Rob, or Chad, or Sean, and just say, exactly. Hey, so here's what I said. I know they're busy. I understand what you're saying. I say I totally, sympathize. Is there better? I understand they're busy right now. Is later on today or tomorrow morning a better time to call back, so we can get you that right information?
Well, I'd like to talk to you next week, but go ahead and send me an email with a brochure and like what you guys are all about. I've never heard of your company before. It sounds cool. It sounds awesome.
Yeah. But, we can round around on this, but you know what I mean. But on reclosing the appointment, and then if they just really if they hammer it on together, I say, I'm sorry, I don't want to. There's nothing I can provide you. I do need to receive. What's a better time to call you? This, and
then for sure. Keep pressing for the appointment.
Keep pressing, and then don't deliver nothing. Because if you do,
for sure. Yeah, I get that now. That's beautiful. Thank you.
Right.
We just don't have like something that we're gonna just fire off to them and then try to follow.
I don't want you to, because what's going to go on is that it's the biggest dismissal of your time, and then you end up doing the big follow-up game, which we'll talk about here in a minute.
I feel it already. Thank you.
Yeah, you got it. No problem. Well, guys, I used to run call centers across the United States, so I understand this more than you know.
We're getting a dose of it right now. We appreciate it though. This is real.
Yeah, no worries. And so here's there's a key thing I do here at the top. Now and then you say, obviously you got the person on the phone and says, now, Susan, would you be opposed if I had our specialist contact you either later on today or tomorrow? Versus, now, Susan, I'd like to have our specialist contact you later on today or tomorrow. Is that okay? Why do I use the word opposed versus just asking for the appointment? Why would I ask if they're opposed?
Because we want to psychologically get them cued to say no, because that is the fundamental response people mostly have. So we want to keep that. If we're displaying an opposition and they reject an opposition, reject that opposition, that means they are actually agreeing.
Correct. It's really hard for someone on the phone to say yes. Very hard. So if I ask them, would that be okay? Does that sound fair? They usually will say yes. They like to say no. And psychologically, they'll say, hey, would you be opposed? No, I'm not opposed. Or, can we set an appointment tomorrow? No. So you go with it. So we have to use the word and kind of drill that in your brain real quick. Use the word, would you be opposed if we did this? Or would you be opposed if we did that? That's a really good way for someone that's got resistance already to get them to kind of comply with what you want to do. Because they're somewhat interested. They're just doing it reluctantly. But the thing is, they're all reluctant. People never really want to talk to salespeople. And that's how they see you as a salesperson. And so they don't know a good deal if it slaps them in the face sometimes, right? So you got to wake them up a little bit and say, look, this really will benefit you, because every single time we set up a dispensary, they not all do it, okay, we'll do it. And after the setup, they're like, oh my God, wow, I didn't know it would be this much of an impact. So I already know that feeling. I already have that conviction already because we've done so many. So I sort of coerce them into, let's get that meeting set up. So this is a really good tactic. Very subtle, but it's very effective. Now, if they say no, which is what we want to do, is, okay, it looks like we have some time and have the calendar out. And here's what I do. Remember this. Always pick 2 times, right? And then you do a morning time and an afternoon time. The 2 key times is 10 and 2. Now, it always works. Why 10? Because stores aren't going to open. They've already done the opening task, and you're not threatened for lunch yet because it's too early for lunch. But the store's already open. Why 2? They've already had lunch. You already had the afternoon rush. It's usually pretty slow at 2 o'clock anyways. Stores are never busy at that time. So I know that I'm going to get their attention, pretty easily if I do 10 or 2. The other reason why I do that as well is I wanted, if someone asked me or you, because obviously my schedule's pretty packed usually. If someone says, hey, Doug, what time are you available tomorrow? I'm going to say, I'm not. I'm busy all week long. Contact me in a week or 2. That's my default answer. That's their default answer. Because I can't visually see my calendar for the day. However, if you say, hey, Dobbin, tomorrow at 10 o'clock, are you available? 10 o'clock? Let me look at my calendar. You told me a time that I'm going to look at specifically. I'm actually going to look for that time. Or 2 o'clock. Does that make sense? You got to be very specific when you're scheduling appointments. Don't say, oh, I'm open. Yeah, sure. Anytime tomorrow that works for you is great. Don't ever do that. Don't ever do that. It devalues you, number one. Your status goes lower. You have a lower status to them. Means that your time doesn't mean anything. Their time is everything. And they will manipulate you for time. And when you do call them for appointments, and I know you guys on the phone have done this, but and because I've been on the calls where we called about the scheduled time, and guess what? They don't answer.
Yeah.
They need to know our time is valuable, and we have a short window to speak with them because we have so much demand for this product that they need to get on board with what we're doing. So even though your schedule may be wide open, they need to think it's a pretty narrow window. We got to schedule something very specific. Okay. All right. So let's say, yes, I would be opposed. Let's say they have it. Let's say they get that answer. I totally understand how you feel. Do the feel felt down kind of thing. Hey, totally understand how you feel. You most likely had a bad experience in the past. So remember, I already kind of know what their experience level is like. There's no way someone would say no to credit cards unless they've had a bad experience or someone told them it's evil, right? Because they had a bad experience, right? So I do the feel felt found that we talked about the other day on Tuesday. Hey, all of our other clients at one point felt that same way too at first, and then off the record between us, what we really found honestly is that everyone that we've set up that were not interested initially all saw immediate sales increases within a few days, and then try to get them kind of on your level. It's a cheesy way to do it, but it works.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And then say, because right now they're fronting, and you're saying something, and they think you're canned. You have a canned response, and then you kind of on this ping pong back. Everyone's got the force field up. You're trying to get them because they said you have to be opposed. So the resistance is already up, and then they're not really listening to what you're saying. So you got to do it like, hey, Susan, or hey, Bob, hey, off the record. What we found is people like you that weren't interested initially that actually did have these meetings and set up, and we actually got them set up. So immediate sales increases. I think we do the same thing for your store, to be honest. It just takes, honestly, the call can be 10 minutes, and then you kind of just reclose for a time. It's a good way to kind of break them down. Okay. So any questions? If not, obviously get your calendar in front. Here's an example of my calendar. If you pull it up, there's a link. Always have it handy. Click on the date. And then obviously this is an old screenshot from March, but then it'll have a list of times that's available. So every time when you book a time, it's going to automatically give us a text message. It's going to then give us an email reminder, and it's going to land on our calendars. There's no way we miss it. It's like you can even set it same day. We will see it. We'll be notified. And there's a couple of different things you want to do or grab when you get the appointment. I went too far. Back it up. Why is that? Why am I not? How come I can't get to my screen? There we
Robin,
go.
are you using Calendly, or are you using the My Calendars through Google?
I use Calendly, and it's integrated with Google.
Oh, that's okay, cool.
Yeah, it lands on Google. Yeah, so using my Google Calendar, so I can do Google Meets. So you want to get some basic information. Obviously, when you record the lead on the invite, we need to know what dispensary it is. If you know the number of locations, that's a bonus. I don't need to know, but we can always look it up and find out later. Just a simple Google search will find out. But hey, are we talking about one location or 30? Set the meeting up. Here's something that we always kind of get confused. Are we calling them? And if so, include their direct phone number. So they're expecting them, make sure they know. Say, hey, okay, great. We set the appointment. And then, what's the best number to get hold of you? Okay, would you rather do a Google meeting or would you want us to just call you directly? That's kind of a conversation you want to have. No, just call my phone. Or no, I want to get a presentation. Let's do a Google Meet. Depends on the level of interest and how they want to do it. Great, because all of our calendar invites, we can do a Google Meet. We'll send it out to them. It's almost automatic. So So if I'm looking at it, or Chad or Sean or Rob or whoever else on the call that does these closing calls, you can take a look. We want to. Okay, I got the calendar invite. Okay, what are we doing? What are my instructions? Am I calling the rep first? The rep's calling them. Am I calling the merchant? Then looping them. Give me some directions, because we know every prospect a little different. Show us how to conduct the meeting, and we'll be there to conduct it the way that you guys scheduled it. Okay. If you know the sales volume, great. Don't need it. You'll find out if they already have a current solution like debit, credit cards, whatever. If they have it, let us know so we kind of go into it with a little more prepared. Even though average transaction size is great, don't need it. I can always find out later. But main thing is, who's our point of contact? Give us the name of the person that we are talking to. We know the name of the business, but we need to know who the point of contact is, and also what the position is. Are they a decision maker or are they a manager? Are they an owner? Just let us know who they are. Okay, that's it. It's basic info.
So if we walk into a business, can we walk in with like an assessment form or some sort of like something that we can kind of like fill out with a clipboard right there or something like that? Or would you prefer that we just try to do it through an email and then that they can fill it out that way?
Have them fill out the form. No, you guys are filling the form. You
We're
guys are
filling
doing the form for them.
We're doing the form for them.
No, never let them do anything. No.
Okay.
This is for you guys to tell us.
Right.
Right. If you already talked, obviously you called them. You walked in
So
the
now-
door. You already know the name of the business. You already know the name of the person talking to. You need to ask them what their phone number is, because if you said the appointment, you're asking for information so we can conduct the appointment on a future time and day.
Got that. Now, say they want to set an appointment or they're interested. Now we're going to send them an email with your availability with Calendly, and then they can.
No, so what Calendar does is that it allows you to invite people. So you can, so if you invite them, so if you have their email address, they say, hey, let me send you an invite for tomorrow, or they say, or you don't have to send them an invite at all. Just say, hey, we're going to call you tomorrow this time, confirm the time, and then you just give us the invite, and then we sit in our calendars, and then we call them at the time you scheduled. So depending on if they're going to be CC'd on that or not, be careful of your comments. So you can put them on this calendar, but to know that the comments are going to see it.
I understand that. Yeah.
So don't say this person is kind of, hesitant or any kind of comments, like they're going to see it. Right.
No,
So just be mindful and be professional when you set those appointments.
for sure.
Okay. All right. So that covers scripting. That's it. I want to keep it basic. Any more questions? So the next section is just going over follow-up and how to properly follow up on these appointments that don't close. So first rule, obviously the follow-up, right? I mean, this is pretty obvious. You want to be able to deal with the right person, right? Means that you need to make sure who we're talking to actually makes decisions or can influence the decision maker. So obviously we want to make sure that happens. So that's kind of a no duh. I won't spend time on that. So you want to do is you want to prearrange the follow-up. This is very important. And I'm gonna harp on this one because this is the number one thing everyone messes up on. When you get on the phone and you talk to them, and let's say the call's over and we want to think about it, and this is great information. Oh my gosh, yeah, let's give us some time to think about it. We'll go over it soon. And you go, okay, cool. Hey, at what time? Call me next week sometime. Okay, we'll call you next week. You already messed up. You have to schedule another time specifically, and they're going to maybe resist if they're giving a lip service. Say, oh yeah, whatever, just call me next week. So just sometime. Oh, okay, cool. And usually my default answer is, hey, today's Wednesday, 9:30. Hey, well, let's do same day, same time next week. Sound good? Because then I'll pin it for the exact same, because I know they're available this time. I know they're available on Wednesday at 9:30 because we're talking on Wednesday at 9:30. So I'm going to schedule that time again. And that's my default answer. If they want a week to do it, I'm going to do it for the exact same day and time. Does that sound good for you? Does that work for you? Great. Okay. Then we set it up. Or, hey, no, only need a couple days. You contact me Friday. Okay, great. So my schedule's a little slammed. I said, hey, are you okay? Can you do 10:30 on Friday? Does that work for you? So be like a negotiation on how to get time set up. They might say, oh, no, that's too early. Can you do afternoon? Okay. After 2:00? They go, yeah, okay, let me look real quick. And then you obviously look in the calendar, right? Looking for when we're available again. And then do that again. Okay, yeah, we can do it. How's 2:30 sound? Does 2:30 work for you? Okay, great. I'll put it down for that time. Be sure to be available if and set some time aside, because we will be setting time aside for our meeting to contact you at that time. And then, cement it, So if you get those follow-up times cemented in there and scheduled, your closing rate will double, triple, being honest. Some of you right now are like, oh my God, you're thinking probably in your head, man, I need to be doing this because I cannot get people back on the phone after our initial conversation. They're just impossible to lock down, right? I know you're thinking that, some of you are. So you have to schedule the follow-up for a specific time, pinpoint a day and time that works for them. Even if your schedule's wide open, pin them down. Okay.
Question.
Yeah.
Is this follow-up call before you've made a call with a specialist?
No. This is after you've already talked to them. This is already after you schedule the appointment. So let's say you're on the appointment, you've already talked to them, and the call is ending, and then we need to schedule a time to call them again. Some of these are the 3-call closes.
Yeah. Okay.
Make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. This is you already scheduled the appointment. You already had the appointment. You ran the appointment, and let's say we got to get them again on the phone. We need to schedule a time to call them back. And then sometimes you guys are calling them and haven't scheduled the appointment, right? You're scheduling the appointment for the appointment. Sometimes like, hey, call me back. I get this person on the phone, and you guys are trying to get these follow-up times to get the commitment from the decision maker to get that appointment. So So this is a lot of touches you got to do to get these appointments done, because these guys are pretty elusive, right?
Oh, yeah.
So when you call them too, try not to say follow-up. Sounds weird, right? Try because follow-up is kind of a trigger where, okay, this person is desperate. They're following up on if I have made a decision or what am I doing. So they feel pressure when you say I'm following up with you, like, it's an obligation. So it's a little mental weirdness that goes on in people's brains, right? So that when you say that, try to do something a little different, right? Instead of saying something like, hey Bob, hey, this is Kelly. I wanted to continue our conversation to see if we're able to help you achieve and get the result that we spoke about in our last meeting. What I do there, I want to continue our conversation, but I want to say, so I didn't follow up. We're continuing to move forward. And then I didn't say credit cards about the result. What's usually the result that we're looking for? What's the whole reason why people take credit cards? The only reason why they take credit cards.
More money.
Make more money. So slip that in there. Hey, I want to continue our conversation so we help you achieve, greater sales, at your store, better retention, that ticket lift you're looking for, the increased sales, whatever it is that's going to motivate them to want to get on the phone. Credit cards are a tool. It's not the result. Always focus on the result. We do results-based selling.
Robin, real quick, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
If we have somebody that's like there and we've already had a really strong conversation with them, can we already assume the sale with the follow-up and just say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. So-and-so, I'm sending over the merchant agreement. It's going to be in your email. It's going to have a quick this and this and that. I just need you to go ahead and fill this out for us and get it to us as soon as possible so we can get the ball rolling. Can that be part of the follow-up? Just assume the sale and not be so, hey, I want to get into this conversation. I know we had a great conversation. What it's all about.
It depends on the stage of the conversation, right? Every stage is a little different. And then so how our process works is we don't send them out the agreement first. The first thing we do is we do an intake form. We actually gather their information. We gather all their docs. We package it up real quick. And this is something we do with them. We don't have them. Honestly, we actually fill it out for them in most cases. Sometimes they just fill out the owner information, and then they work with somebody else on the team, and that gathers, Arkansas Corporation, financials, pictures and photos of their store. And then so all that stuff's being gathered. After we gather all of that and pre-underwrite, then we send out the agreement. For that's the very last step. That's like the final step.
No, I get it. I know. I see what you mean. It just seems like some of these people are like moving really quick, that they're like either like, okay, is this a today sale, or is this going to be kind of like, are they being strung along a little bit too? You know what I mean?
No, the only reason we're doing a follow-up is because they haven't committed.
Right.
The follow-up is because they didn't commit. And also someone like myself would be on the phone moving things forward quickly. So I'm the one that's just trying to get them to go forward now than later. I try to get it done on the first call, to be honest. And then I try every time I'm on the phone with them, I'm trying to give them enough information, identify concerns. I'll even throw out objections that they would possibly be thinking of, identify it, isolate, overcome. That's a technique we use. I drill it in, then I'd say, okay, let's, I said, then I assume the sale, and I just kind of like, hey, I'm going to do is I'm going to send you out some information. We're going to go ahead and get this thing started. Here's what I need. Who do you talk to? And we just we go through it, and then I let them stop me. Obviously not that speed that I'm talking now, but I'm moving forward quickly. I try to, at least, because obviously no one likes a follow-up game. So I know that time kills all deals. So if someone's engaged, I want to get them starting developing that application package as soon as possible. So that's something you guys would be doing. That's something that we would be doing.
Right. So when I'm going to follow up with an email to try to get the follow-up appointment, that's where the line is drawn for us, basically.
Right. Remember, you're just trying to get them to the show.
Press the envelope with the emails. Can I take a few screenshots from the PowerPoints with some of the, you're going to
get a copy of all this.
Yeah, no. But take a few screenshots that I can send in an email to a prospective client.
Not so we're doing right now. Not our. I mean,
I know not the training, but just something that has like company brand, a little history, little intro to what we're offering.
No, we already have material for you guys to send out.
Oh, cool. And that's that's all in the resource center, or is that in?
You got it.
Yeah.
All there.
I'm on the tab with the dispensaries. I can't find it.
Scroll down. You'll see everything there.
Is there like
it's toward the bottom. Let's cover that here in a second.
Right, keep going. I'm on the links.
I got time on this real quick. Sorry. I'll walk you through after the call.
Oh, thank you.
No worries, man. So any questions on developing a plan and the follow-up and why you don't see follow-up and really how you do it? Really to reemphasize is continue our conversation about X, about getting blank results that we talked about. So whatever you spoke about, because really it's about results based, about how to increase sales. You want to focus on that to pull them back in, because the sales part or whatever the hot button is, we're going to keep pressing that button because that's what gets them interested. Credit cards, remember, is a tool. They know that's why you're on the phone with them. They already know it's credit cards. It's what is it going to do for them besides them looking at rate or anything, other little features that bother them. It's getting them to increase sales 20 to 30%. It's how to get them, their drivers to be cashless so it's safer for them. Be able to capture payments online through a website. These are the things that are values that you got to focus on that's going to trigger them to want to move forward. And then obviously you want to use a variety of different methods. When you look at them, or when you're contacting them, obviously you're on the phone with them, email obviously. But I've had a lot of people successful. If someone starts getting ghosted and they have a hard time getting a hold of them, they will actually find them on the Instagram page and do DMs. They'll find them on LeafWire and also do direct message, LinkedIn direct message. They'll find them as off social media as well on these follow-ups if you can't get a hold of them. So don't be a stalker. I'm just saying use it professionally, but there are other ways to get a hold of people if they're not calling you back when they should be calling you back. You can nudge them a little bit on different platforms. I've had some people that they're pretty successful at that. I actually have people that obviously will do the follow-ups there, or they'll do their initial prospecting on social media to get their interest without even cold calling. Other thing you want to do too is, I mean, obviously, when you want to look at someone, you want to be someone that's not just pushing or peddling a product. You want to be a resource in their eyes. Like we've got some credibility behind us. Where obviously, we work with different integrations. We got to help them set up. But one thing we also too is if they need, like, one of the things we offer is, hey, you need help with your banking. They may even hate their bank. They may want a different bank. I know that a lot of people that don't have banking or want to change their bank. We offer this information for free. So we always kind of collaborate and you kind of collect different cannabis-friendly banks, their names and contact numbers, so we can give them for free as a resource to our clients that need them. Because obviously they need banking for them to use our service. So we want to encourage them to use what they think is going to be the best fit for them. We don't make decisions for them. We say, hey, here you go, do your own research, but we want to be a resource. We're here to help you, not just to peddle products. So we want to be able to be a good resource that they can lean on at some degree. So just be that person. Okay, now here's something I want to talk about real quick. We're done. This is one of the last slides. Is how much is too much? Meaning, and some of you guys, like, I've called this person 10 times. When do I say stop? When do I say uncle? When do we? When is too much follow-up, too much, So for example, if they missed a call meeting, right, they schedule a time, I will call 2 more times that same day. Once immediately afterwards, like 5 minutes into it, and they don't call, I'll wait, I'll call maybe a couple hours later to figure it out. But I'm done. I don't keep chasing. If they didn't call, obviously they know about the meeting, they saw my missed calls. If I do more than 2, I look desperate. And I don't want to look desperate. I want to look professional, right? But I know they know I missed it, right? If you keep calling, they're just going to get annoyed. Wait a few days, 2 or 3, then send a message. Ask them to contact you when they're ready, when they're ready to move forward, and be prepared to take the opportunity off the table. That's hard to do, especially hard to do if you don't have any leads. That's what I'm saying is if you get enough leads in the system and you're talking to lots of people, you can pick and choose what leads you want to focus on and which leads are actually going to send you astray. And I say this because if they're not calling you back, they're just too weak to tell you they're not interested, or they're not interested right now, to be honest. Otherwise, they'd be calling you back. Okay, and you'll be surprised on the next slide, if you do a takeaway email or message, you'd be surprised how fast they actually text you back. Those that are genuinely interested but are too lazy to call you back. Okay, it works. It puts you back in control. So if you're also following up to see if they're moving forward or not, and you call when they're expecting you to, and if no answer, you're okay to send an email saying, asking for time to reconnect, to go over the results. Again, waiting 2 days, and then again 2 days later, and then so you want to do a final goodbye after. If this charade goes on for a little bit, you want to do a final goodbye, and you're like, why would I be doing this? Why am I talking about this? Because if you're doing 50 phone calls a day and you're talking to so many people, you don't have time for people that don't have time for you. I'm just being honest. It puts you in a power position, and and your voice inflection will be different if you're begging them for a time versus hey, maybe they're not interested. So here's what we've done, and this works. I wish there's a certain person on the phone that's tried this, and I've done it too. Then they said, yeah, it works really well. His name is John. Hey, John, tried to reach you a few times, but did not hear back from you. ... Go down 2 lines, and then don't do anything wordy. You guys, some of you want to pour your heart out on an email and really describe and resell it. Guys, they've already been sold on it. They've already had conversations. You've already gone over this. They already know. Just put, where should we go from here? Put it on them. Sign your name. Hit send. That's it. Wait. You'll be surprised. Over half will email you back and say, oh my God, I'm so sorry. The other half never wanted to do business with you in the first place. It puts you in a higher status, and they see you in a much better position as not a salesperson that's begging for their business. It looks you look more professional and makes them look like they're the a-hole for ghosting. Remember, this is for people that are ghosting you, that had a scheduled appointment, that didn't show up, that missed your phone calls, that isn't responding to you. You got to stop chasing them. and just give them a final goodbye and see where they go from there. And I guarantee you half the people, actually more than half, will actually contact you back and say, oh my God. And then if they get this from you and they are generally interested, they will be more diligent in working with you moving forward than they ever were before, because it looked like they've offended you in a professional way. Questions on this? No one's probably ever told you to do this before.
I love the power of the takeaway. It's strong in business.
It's very strong.
And people want what they can't have too.
Always.
Just ask my
Especially
wife.
if you laid it out correctly, where I've been tasked with calling every dispensary in your area. They know I'm talking to their competitors. They know we're compliant. They know that we credit cards increase business. They know all this. You set time and they're ghosting you. Either sometimes they just throw out of the country, or they're on vacation. They didn't hear it. They forgot. You're landing in spam, whatever. There might be generally a good reason, or they just forgot to get back with you. That text right there says, oh, shoot, I'm being an asshole. I should probably contact this person back because this person has what I want. Versus, oh yeah, goodbye. I wasn't interested anyways. Perfect. I tell people this too. I'll do this in presentations sometimes. I said, give me a yes or give me a no, but do not give me a maybe, because a maybe is a no.
Oh yeah, we know that. Yeah. What about what about a takeaway in a different scenario where we actually say, you know what, you guys, I really feel strong about this store. I love this company. I love everything that you got going on. I'm really good friends with the owner. Sabin's cool. Like, he's a beast in the industry. He's been in this over 20 years. He's got, he's way more proficient in this than I'll ever be right now, but I just want you to have a chance to speak with him. He's really busy, but we're doing this thing right now. If we sign you guys up, we'll make it to where every business within a mile radius of your company, we won't allocate our resources to. We'll make sure
I try to stay away from that now. I mean,
but you know what I mean? Like, so that way they feel
it doesn't come up ever as an objection. So the next thing you want to do is let's say we did sign somebody. Let's say you didn't sign somebody. Let's say another team signed somebody up next door, and they go, hey, you said you wouldn't do it. I saw your system in there. Oops.
Right.
You can't control that.
No, I see, and I see.
Yeah, but plus, I don't want to put you in a trap. But I don't. That's a little gimmicky. I'm sorry.
I'm just throwing something out there. Just
right.
Just for conversation.
Well, the thing is,
hey,
something
just to go against that. I'm actually it's a bonus if you find someone like down here in Long Beach. Mad Men just put in a little sign saying we, like, in their front window, that we accept credit cards. So quarter mile down the street, I went to the syndicate, was like, did you guys see that? They're like, yeah. And I was like, I want to get you guys up and running, not saying that it was, because it wasn't me, but making them think that it was. And they're like, oh yeah, let's talk. So I'm going to be talking to the general manager for all the locations with that. Another one, it's a good, like, probing to kind of go in, because they've heard about it. There's another one, Panacea, up in Massachusetts. Went down the street, it's like 2 miles down, talked to them. I was like, hey, the owner wanted to reach with him. We work with Panacea, and we have them running. They're like, oh, so that's how they're doing credit cards. We've been wondering how they're doing that.
Yeah, I like to name it up
so
all the time.
then it's like, okay, they're like, yeah, we've been.
So the association is actually stronger than the competition, and trying to be,
especially with this. Yeah,
because it seems like,
I mean,
I have
11:30 call. I'm actually late for, so I'm going to kind of wrap this up. Sorry, I apologize. I want to keep continuing the conversation, but to add to Brant what you're saying, and Jason, is you want I name drop all the time. I think it's a big thing to use, is say, hey, these are people you may be familiar with that are already using the system successfully. And they say, great, can I call them? I said, I'm not allowed to give out their information, but if you know who they are, please feel free to go to the store or to call, if you have their contact them. Just based on privacy rules, we're not allowed to give out their information, but I can tell you the names of the locations of the ones that we've set up recently, and you can do your own due diligence, and they'll respect that, because the same reason why we don't give out their information is because, to say, like, well, why not? So, well, for example, if we signed you up and you actually used it, we're, without your permission, I'm not going to give out your name and number to people you don't know that's going to contact you and bother you. That's something we don't do. But
For sure.
I may occasionally mention to your store, we as a client of ours, but they got to do it. They'll understand how that if I reverse it on them. But I've never had that issue where people, I gotta call. It's like, if I explain it that way, they're like, oh, I get it. That's right.
Yeah, I just didn't know if, like, I know how strong the power of the takeaway was. I didn't know if it would be strong utilizing it in a way that, hey, if you get this, other people can't have it. It'll be exclusive to you within the store.
I wouldn't do that. I would just say, no, here's the power of the takeaway. So it's for this. They want to be first to market. If no one else in their area is taking credit cards, and we set them up first, they'll be the first ones that will have a chance to pull customers from other locations and actually have a chance to earn their business and keep their business. Yeah. The one that takes credit cards last is the one that's going to be scraping ahead, like, hey, we're just now getting to the show. We're just now, the party's already started. We're late to it, and now we're trying to play catch up and try to grab our clients back. The last thing you want to do is have your customers be encouraged to shop somewhere else because they have more opportunities for them to spend the money than you do.
Yeah.
That's how you compete. That's the takeaway is don't let them do it for you.
Right.
That's the takeaway. Not
first the table eats first. Yeah.